Hey, what's up, Jeff?
Well, hello there.
Well, Mr. Man, for all you people out there, this is Jeff Pilson. I mean, a regular rock superstar. I mean, you've been with everything, man. I've been watching videos with you in it and everything. I mean, you're an actor, you're a writer, you've been with all these big bands, and now you're with Foreigner. I mean, holy crap. Some people would be happy with just one of those, Jeff. You're a greedy guy. You got so much going for you. How the hell do you find time with it? You got clones or something?
Well, because I do it all the time. Because this is all I do. I mean, I do try and spend time with my family, but other than that, I mean, I'm in here. This is my studio and I love it. And it's my home away from home.
Now, how's COVID been affecting you? I mean, because Foreigner tours a lot. How does that really affect you?
Well, yeah, it certainly affected Foreigner. Well, we were a year and 4 months off the road, but last year we did get to play, and this year we're going to be playing some more. So, we did. I'm not sure how many shows we did, but we started. Basically, we did some stuff end of March, but mostly we started end of May. And we went through pretty much until Thanksgiving Day when we did the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Macy's Day Parade. So we had a fairly full year. We only had to cancel a handful of shows, all COVID related. So all things considered, we did pretty well. And I'm anticipating even better this year.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, you started off with the big group that you started with was Dawkins, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, back then, that must have been something for you. I mean, because that was a true drug, sex, and rock and roll kind of thing back then, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was very much that. And, it was a great experience for a young man in his mid-20s. It was all good. I certainly had my share of fun. And it was great and valuable experience that, I've carried into other things and worked with great people, established lifelong connections. I mean, my bond with George Lynch is definitely lifelong and will continue to be, which is great stuff. So, yeah, got a lot of great things, met a lot of wonderful people, worked with amazing people. And it really was the springboard for everything else I've been able to do, rock star. I mean, really, everything, all roads lead back to Dawkins for me, and I think that's a cool thing.
Oh, he was with Dawkins. When was it what was the time when you said, holy damn, I'm a rock star? When did that finally hit you?
Well, it actually never did, like you think, because we were always, I mean, there was competition going on in LA, and even though they were our friends, we never felt during the 80s like we were as big as Rat or Motley. You know what I mean? So it never felt like we were like, whoa, over the top. By the end of the 80s, we had pretty much established ourselves and we were on the cusp. Had we not broken up in 89, I'm sure we would have done a big headlining tour in, maybe 90 or 91. And maybe then I would have said I was a big rock star. But by then, we were breaking up and going off onto other paths for the next few years. So I never really had that, hey, I'm a big rock star moment. And maybe that's a healthy thing.
Now, when you was doing tours, did you have any experience like Joe Walsh? He tore up hotel rooms, threw TVs out the window. Did you do that, Jeff?
We had our little equivalents of those kind of things, yes. I was never much of a trasher kind of guy, but I'll just tell you this. I do remember George and I rooming at one point, and I don't remember exactly who did it, but I remember we were kind of being destructive, and there was a table, it was like a big dining, or I guess, like in hotels, they'll have a big table on the side, but it was big and it was wooden, and somehow we tore the whole top off. And it actually came off, and it was like a big solid piece of wood. So I don't even remember how we did it, but I remember we had to pay for that, George and I, because we were rooming together. We kind of destroyed the room a little bit.
Did you put out the window?
No.
That's what you do when you tear off a tabletop. You throw it out the window.
It was actually in a motel and it was on the ground floor, so it wouldn't have been very.
Throw it on the sidewalk.
Yeah. But I do remember, and I know I remember George to this day had to pay $5,000 for a Tokyo hotel room door that he managed to undo from its place of business. So we had our moments, but overall we were fairly well behaved, I guess. A lot of drugs.
Now, those were the good years. Now, let me ask you something. You remember where you was at the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
Well, I remember hearing the first song I ever heard on the radio of mine was a project that I did in 1980 called Rock Justice. It was a rock opera that we did out of San Francisco, and we got a deal on EMI. And we had the first single was a song that I actually sang. It's called Rock and Roll Dreams. And I remember the record company paid to have Val Garay mix it, who was a big shot. And I remember when I heard it, it was like, that was the first time I realized, wow, does a mix ever make a difference? This guy made it sound great. He even made my voice sound good. And I thought my vocal was like, okay on it. But anyway, so that was so sometime in 1980 would have been the first time I heard. And I just remember I was where we were living in an old church that had been first converted into a recording studio. And then it became our band rehearsal place, living place. We all lived like in the priest's quarters. And I remember I was in the hallway of our church where we lived, and it was called, ironically enough, the church. Anyway, and I was in the hallway and I heard the song on the radio, and it was like, wow, that was a mind-boggling thing.
So now you transitioned pretty well, I guess. After you sobered, right? Basically, you moved on to Dio.
I got sober in '89. Yeah.
And then you went on to Dio after that, right?
Well, before that, I was even in MSG.
Oh, that's right.
With Michael Schenker and Robin McCauley. I played on their records, but I mean, I was playing on a lot of records back then as a kind of a studio bass player. But then I toured with MSG. We did an acoustic tour, which was really fun for me because I was playing 12-string. And it was just Michael playing his 6-string, Michael Schenker, me playing 12-string, and Robin singing, and I was singing backgrounds too. And it was just so great. It was just the three of us. So it was like, I explained to people, it's like having a private lesson with Michael Schenker every day, but I was getting paid for it. And it was great because what he wants on a 12-string is very precise. So it was really good for me. Taught me a lot about playing acoustic guitar and just kind of, getting better at that. And that was wonderful. Then I joined Dio in 93.
That must have been an experience right there. I mean,
man, joining Dio was great. It was so wonderful. Number one, the band was phenomenal. It was Vinny Appice on drums, Ronnie, of course, Tracy G on guitar, who's tremendously underrated. A lot of diehard Dio fans never really took to Tracy, but because he was maybe a little more modern in his approach than most Dio fans wanted. But Tracy was great, and I loved his playing, and we loved jamming together. Vinny and Tracy and I could jam on anything and make it cool. It was just so much fun. And Scott Warren on keys. So it was an amazing band, great people, great musicians, hard workers. That the first record we did together, Strange Highways, was very magical. And, I'm glad to see that over time now it's kind of become more appreciated. At the time, it was a little too outside for a lot of Dio fans. But that was the record Ronnie wanted to make. He wanted to make a newer sounding record. He wanted to try some modern approaches, and we just had a great time. And I think that record has aged well. I know it's going to be remixed by Wyn Davis in the not too distant future. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think Wyn's going to make it sound a little more organic. It was a record I'm very, very proud of.
And so they moved on from that. Your next big band was Foreigner. That must have been.
Well, the next big band was actually Dokken reforming in the 90s to play, which I did. And then I joined Foreigner in 2004. So,
let me ask you something. We'll go back a little bit because you said, drugs was a big part of Dokken's in the beginning. how was it like Joe Walsh when they had the reunion tour? Because I'm a big Joe Walsh fan, and after he sobered up, he said that was the scariest thing for him because he's never been sober when he played. That's for the first time when they came back together. Was that anything like happened with you?
No, because I mean, as bad as I was, and I was pretty bad, I never played high. I never, even in the 80s at the worst, I never played high, and I never played without at least half an hour of sleep. So, and sometimes it was only a half an hour, but that made a difference, in your headspace. So no, for me, playing sober, I was used to it. It just got better for me when my whole life got sober.
Mhm.
But I can feel for Joe. I can imagine. I remember we were with Aerosmith on their permanent vacation tour, and they were actually talking about the same thing because that was the first time some of them had ever played sober when they got sober. And so I understand how that is. It's like you're a different person doing it. For me, it wasn't that case though.
Well, that's good. I mean, your experiences. I mean, you're just talking about playing with Aerosmith, touring with Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Now you've seen all these people, all these famous people. Is there one experience you said, "Damn, that was the experience for me that I got to meet this person, or I got to, perform with this person"? What would be that one experience that you could say that was really it for me?
Well, I think if I'm going to look in totality and try and judge, I would say it was when Foreigner played before Led Zeppelin at the O2 Arena in 2007 when they did their show. It was the tribute to Ahmet Ertegun show where Zeppelin came back together and did the one show, which became the Celebration Day DVD. That night was a real magical night that I will never forget. And that's kind of a bellwether for me of that whole period. I didn't think, that it was a case where Zeppelin once it became announced that Zeppelin were going to do it, the internet actually shut down because they had over 2 million hits on the website to try and get 22,000 tickets. And it was just insanity. So when we got to the show, I was a little like, wow, how are they going to react to Foreigner before Led Zeppelin? But they were great. We played right before Zeppelin too. And it was a magical night. Before us was like a superstar group with Chris Squire from Yes, who was my favorite bass player of all time. And, we got to be somewhat of friends, and that was a cool thing. And it was Keith Emerson and Simon Kirke. It was, lots of really cool people. And then there was Zeppelin, who were absolutely magical that night. And Jason Bonham was playing with them, and he had been playing with us. So I was just so proud of Jason that night. He just completely killed it. He was amazing that night. And like I say, the whole night was pretty magical. And my wife and I even got to rock out with Sir Paul McCartney for a few minutes.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
didn't get to talk to him, but we rocked out with him.
Now, were you able to wear some of your Dawkins outfits during that concert?
No. Probably could have. I just didn't think of it.
I tell you, that your career is just amazing. I mean, and you write music, you produce, you're an actor. You was with Wahlberg and Jennifer Aniston, man.
Yeah.
You didn't get a chance to score with Jennifer Aniston? No.
There was this little guy named Brad Pitt hanging around.
Well,
why she'd want him over me?
I don't know. You're a superstar. He's just that guy.
Yeah, Thelma and Louise, big deal.
So what you got plans going on now?
Well, actually, right now, George Lynch just walked through the door, and he and I are doing a thing called Heavy Hitters. And it's us doing cover stuff, which we're having a blast doing. It's just absolutely so much fun. So we're gonna start song number 8 today of that. And I'm not sure when that's gonna come out, but sometime this year, I guess. And then other than that, I'm doing a video for Black Swan on January 30th, and that record's coming out in April. And then I'm going to be playing with the Revolution Saints, which is Dean Castronova, the drummer from Journey. It's his band where he actually sings. It's really, really, really great. He's an incredible singer. He's a Steve Perry, and he's really great. So I'm going to be doing that, and then touring with Foreigner full year.
Well, now I heard some rumors. I mean, you're in production now and everything. I'm sure this is what you're working on. That you was going to take a different genre. That you was going to branch off into like gangster rap. Is that true?
No, not even remotely close. I don't know who said that, but they are tremendously wrong.
Well, I tell you, Mr. Man, they told me to keep it short because you had a lot on your plate. But I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, like I said, you must have clones to do all the things that you've done. And I really appreciate the time. I'm a big fan. And of course, Foreigner is one of my biggest bands. I always liked Foreigner. But I really appreciate you coming on, and I wish you all the best there, Mr. Man.
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, you take care.
You too, and talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we is. Jeff Pilson from Foreigner, Dawkins, Dio. I mean, this guy was great. I mean, he's been with everybody. So this is just one of the bands that we do interviews with. We're doing Third Eye Blind in 2 days, Hinder on the 18th, and we got so much more coming on at www.arkansasshowcaseradio.com show. So stay tuned. And again, that was Jeff Pilson from Foreigner. I mean, outstanding. It took a long time to get that together. So he had to keep it kind of short because he's got some recording they're getting ready to do. You saw the guy, Lynch, walk in. So they're getting ready to do it. He was actually setting up the amps. So stay tuned. Jeff Pilson, really appreciate him coming on. That's just one of the many, many treasures that we're going to get to you guys on www.arkansasshowcaseradio.com. That's it for now. Bye-bye.